Good morning, everyone from steaming hot Vancouver. Holy smokes, it's a heat wave here, I think, across the board. I mean, we're experiencing some incredible amounts of sun. It's beautiful. I hate to complain about it. I've got air conditioning, so hey, I won't complain too much, but it is hot. So how are you doing, Austin? Welcome,
It's
everyone.
it's cooking out here too. I think I got out to Vancouver for the nice part of the weather, and then we get to be apart for this boiling hot heat dome or whatever the heck it is that we've got going on here in Western Canada. So, but things are good. Things are going great.
Good. Well, today we wanted to talk in general about timing. And that's a pretty broad topic because, I mean, timing ranges everything from time, when to time you're buying your investment or when to get out. And you could look at that to the smallest level of, I mean, day trading is timing after all, at the end of the day. So that timing and time frame is a big, kind of piece to chew at. But we're kind of going to talk about it more in a specific way in regards to timing with some of the companies that we talk about, especially from mining. And when you have resource companies, is there's specific times that are more opportune than others, depending on what risk tolerance you have. And we can get into portfolio timing and cyclical shifts and all that at another conversation. But right now, when you're taking a look at the timing of something, overall, it's a challenging thing to do if you're trying to time the market, time the news, time that. But there's some just very key basics that we can go on. And it gives us a chance to kind of review some of the guests we've had on, some of the companies we talk about, some of the companies that are just interesting and things that are developing out there. So people kind of see like, oh, okay, I see what you mean in reference to timing with these companies.
Yeah, I think that, the mining companies especially have a very clear kind of set timeline of how, the cycle works, when drilling season is, when you can expect to see results. And that does vary based on what part of the world that you're in. But there's also, there's timing for other stocks as well. We talk about QU, we talk about Secure a lot. They have different kind of timelines and ways that you can see kind of the news flow and stuff like that working. So it's an interesting kind of topic to cover and just expand on when maybe the best opportunities to look at buying stocks might be, when best time to maybe exit might be.
Yes. And often I would say to someone, unless it's your full-time job and you're focused on rebalancing and keeping up to date with the companies you're specifically in, and you're really, really focused on it, trying to time is very, very difficult. It's something that, there are people that are good at it. I mean, usually they are quote unquote traders and they're on news flow and on charts all day long. And once again, if that's your job and it's your passion, that's great. But for most people, if they're just investing, and even myself, I stay away from too much of the timing. But there are, of course, companies that'll say, listen, we're drilling right now, so it's quiet. And then people wonder, why is there no news? There's no news. There's no news flow. What's happening? Or the news flow isn't what they were hoping or excited. Like if they're just looking at a new property and they're doing like grab samples and some geo work and all that. These are all advancing a project. But at the end of the day, people want assay results and they want it to further with hard data what's coming out of the ground. That's the real truth teller is, we've drilled a hole into what we hope is something, into an anomaly, and we've pulled out. And once that's done, there's also a bit of a time lag that is completely out of our hands. And especially this year, I think will be very challenging. So people, have some patience. There's only a few labs to send assay results to, and there's a lot of people drilling. So there could be weeks where you're sitting there wondering, once again, why is there no news flow? What's happening? And some people become impatient, they sell, they just get out, and the stock will go up and down on anticipation of what those results might be. And often, not because anyone knows anything, it's out of everyone's hands, it's sitting in a lab somewhere. So keeping that in mind, it's important because we have to remember when we're looking at certain companies and why we're in it is, has there been a news release? Like, I've had people that call and say, listen, the stock's dropped, should I sell? I'm like, hey, I can never tell you to buy or sell, and it's not my business. But I just remind people, was there any news that's come out? Is there anything significant that's been revealed to change your model? That's it. And if there hasn't been, then it's speculation. It's this, it's that, it's whatever. And it's not meaningful. So we always have to just go back to our model. And part of that is good just to reiterate when you hear me or someone else talk or in the space, lots of newsletter writers that say, listen, there's a model here. Has there been any actual change in news, in management, any direction from the board, any changes in revenue? If there hasn't been, then just hold the course. Unless you've got personal reasons you have to take the money out for whatever reasons. But I just mean as far as your investment in a specific company. So did you want to take us away with a couple?
Well, I think an exciting one, the first one to touch on, and I know we'll have a kind of full interview coming out later this week, but Secure is a really interesting one to talk about, Globex data and kind of everything that's going on over there, the way we keep hinting to it with their news releases and stuff, that they're building up things like it's very, very strong base to market and push their platform, especially in the US market. But it kind of feels like we're ramping up as far as the timing thing goes. And I think this is actually where this conversation started with you and I. Is it feels like they are building into a very strong time. Like this might be a very good time to get in on this, because they're with their launch rolling out, with their marketing plan going the way it is, it could see a lot of traction, a lot of movement going forward.
Yes, and I mean I'm breaking my own rule of not saying, but that video is going to be coming out later on today, and I'm buying more. So it was such a good interview, and we'll have it out later today. And I won't ruin all the surprises and all that. And there isn't anything that isn't already highlighted in their news flow right now. It's just we have to remind people to look through all the details of they're doing an awful lot of marketing. And after all, the service makes sense. People understand that, yes, if you spend any time listening to people in regards to your data, it's very uncomfortable, the level of access that people have to all of your information and data, and enough people should be wary, especially in today's environment. So I am one of these people that feels it's important to have a say in your own life and to regulate that information to whom I want to. I also don't expect any privacy if I'm going to be on any social media. If I go on it, whatever I post, I just accept that is now kept for, and that's unfortunate, but it's out there, it's done. But that shouldn't be for any message that you want to send to any friend or to anyone else or any business associate. So this is going to take off. This is just a matter of traction. So what you'll see in the video is Alain walking through step by step the milestones. But it's public knowledge. You can go read their news flow right now. But it's just nice to hear him explain, like, listen, why is it, what's going on? We're hitting all these targets. We're doing all these things. And it doesn't take a lot to make some revenue come in on a substantial level. So that one is very, very interesting. And they're doing some big marketing push once again, because it's about adoption for them. It's just adoption, getting people comfortable enough and spending a few bucks a month to have some control over their own lives and data. To me, I think once people get a bit more comfortable and once people spend a little bit of time just thinking of how these companies like FANG work, it's quite disconcerting. So
yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. And it's nice to see a company that has a very clear understanding of what their big hurdles are that they need to get past and are strategically kind of attacking that and going and saying, look, no, we have a plan. This is our way we're going to get past those hurdles. This is how we're going to, kind of clear those first jumps and be successful beyond that. So it's a super exciting time for Secure, and it fits right into that kind of timing narrative that we're talking about.
Yes, and everyone, just to step on to another one, everyone knows I love Desert Mountain Energy. I have for a long time. But if you want to talk about timing as well, here's a perfect example. People obviously want to know what's happening, what's going on, and we're in limbo right now. So hopefully we'll have Robert on soon. But like all things, when you're dealing with extreme heat, you're dealing with drilling, getting parts for things. There's a million things that can happen when you're working with crews during this COVID event, trying to get supply chains things with massive inflation. Supply chain things are not coming and going as well as they should. A million things can happen that can slow down drilling projects, this, that, everything else. And once again, there's so much anticipation with this that adds to the anxiety. But I'm sure we'll be having him on soon, and he'll give us an update. We watch all the time to see if there's any new, any public news put out there. And as soon as we do, we'll let people know. But once again, it just shows that when you're drilling, there's anticipation. People want to know, okay, what are the results? What are the results? And that's just part of the game. So that's a good idea. That's a good. And if you look at their chart is great because it's just like a step up of each time they hit new plateaus. And we've been holding in this range for quite some time. I, of course, look at this thing from a couple of years down the road, and I'm very, very excited about it. But for people that are playing, look, here's the chart. Very nice chart, but it's been here for a bit of time. And of course, people want to see these new results. How is this well looking? And it'll either jump up again or it'll pull back, depending on what those results are. And that would just be an immediate reaction. Long term, this thing looks amazing. They're going to be drilling a ton of holes. What they have already is pretty sizable. That whatever the results are, whatever happens, this is a very, very strong company for a long period of time.
Yeah, it's interesting to see because with the whole timing discussion as well. When Adam had their site pulled up there, we could see their news releases, and June was quiet, but then you look at May, and they've got one every week, and the same thing in April as well. So it's all about timing. It's all about how things are working out. This is Arizona, man. It's hot down there.
Yes.
I don't want to be touching drilling equipment in the weather that we have right now.
Yeah.
And so imagine that in the middle of the summer down in the desert there. That would be insane. So
and also they're having a real hard time in the States getting people to work. They don't want to. They're getting a lot of money right now. I can't remember what the number is, but I thought I heard someone quote about $38,000 a year to not work. Wow. So why would I want to work? I mean, if you're, their minimum wage is very low in the States. Mm-hmm. It's not great. So if you're able to get, if you can get by on 30-something thousand in the US, that's pretty good. I wouldn't want to go out. I mean, it's a tough job. Working rigs is a very tough job, and that pays substantially more. But still, I know the jobs numbers are bleak in the US. Mm-hmm. They had Chairman Powell on doing a terrible job trying to convince people that they were good. But you could see where people were going was like, listen, if you're paying people a lot to stay home, they're going to stay home. Yeah. So it's a very interesting time where the amount of money printed is astonishing. It's incredible. They want to pretend that there's not going to be any inflation. There's constant news of the gold and silver markets being manipulated. Someone, I think from JP Morgan, charged and is going to jail with this. Most of these stories are printed, but they're not promoted. They're never really talked about. So that's another thing with timing is a lot of people talking about the incoming stock market crash, which it definitely could. I mean, the whole economy in theory should crash, but we've seen these things before, and they have sometimes and they haven't other times. If you are someone who values fundamental numbers, then none of this makes sense. It's a bit of a clown world, but we live in a clown world anyway, socially, culturally. It's all backwards right now. But it doesn't mean they can't pull off something. So the timing right now also, and whatever I talk a lot about, could the stock market crash? Yeah, like FANG stocks they can be torn apart. They shouldn't be torn apart, to be quite honest. I mean, Netflix is what 67p, and not the P ratios that go to, but traditionally 15p is pretty good for a growth stock, and FANG as a total is something around 30 or something like that. So it's twice what the historical P ratio is, and I always find this interesting too because the people that complain the most about inequality will champion FANG, which is the number one. Although they whisper, they do the virtue signaling about all the key talking points. They're the biggest problem towards any kind of equality. They're the biggest, what do you call it, a parasitic capitalistic group out there. There isn't one that has ever that existed at any period of time more than them. Yet they have their supporters, which clamor to them. While kind of like that woke mob kind of thing, you're arguing, you're supporting those that are basically enslaving you, which is just incredible. But that's beside the point.
But it's interesting to note on as well, because that it kind of tying it back into the U.S. situation as well. I think it's one of the few times in history that they've had high unemployment and also a labor shortage in the U.S. simultaneously at the exact same time, which doesn't make any sense when you hear that. But then when you look into it a little deeper and you say, okay, yeah, there's these other factors with the pandemic situation that we've gone through and the way that governments have handled it, and there's a cause and effect relationship between what happens, what the strategies and the approaches that are made, and then how that's going to not just affect in the short term, a la the first few weeks of COVID, the biggest shutdowns, but now even as the U.S. is opening up and getting back to normal, you're getting into this situation as well, where people don't even necessarily want to work.
Yes.
No. But
go ahead. Go.
No, so I was going to say another interesting one to kind of look at as well, because we talk about them a lot, is QU Media. And kind of their timeline and their timing as well, which is an interesting thing to look at when you put it in the context of their revenue reports and how that all structures out. For me personally, the way I'm looking at it, and you can kind of give your feed on this as well, I look at it as kind of in this period where we're going to be waiting to see what this ad revenue that they've signed up is. We can see they've signed up incredible advertisers, everyone from Amazon to Dove to Pepsi. It's crazy the amount of ad revenue that they're going to be generating. We're just not going to get to see any of that until the Q3 earnings report, which again ties into a timing thing. So my take on that would be, this is going to be a bit of a, as we're almost seeing with Desert Mountain, that little flat area where we're waiting for news, we're waiting for results. And then hopefully as soon as those numbers come out at the end of Q3, we're going to see another nice big shoot up on the back of some really promising news. Yeah.
I will throw in a couple other mining companies in there, whether it's Trillium or Goliath or Copper Bank. They're Goliath and Trillium are both drilling. Of course, people, drilling up in the north, when you talk about timing, it's so cyclical because it's mountainous and it's obviously very cold and underburden of glacial underburden, as well as lots of snow in the winter. Very difficult. You can drill, but extremely difficult. So generally people just drill in the summer, and it's a short window. That window is happening right now. It's currently underway. Trillium is drilling. They've raised money. They're in Quebec and they're out. So people, they just wait. You just kind of either accumulate and you just sit and wait in anticipation, or sometimes people just say, listen, you're drilling. Whenever they put out a notice saying drilling's done, we've sent everything to the assays, people just wait till that comes out and go, okay, now I'll start buying. So these are some of the strategies people do when they're waiting and they're timing and they're trying to see when they should buy and shouldn't buy. And a lot of times these companies, say up in the Golden Triangle, is they'll go cyclically year over year because they wait for results to get results. They trade on it. And then in the winter, the stock kind of drops off as people shift to other stocks. So there is cyclical plays out there. Once again, this is very general, but you have to reach out to us, engage us, to have a bigger conversation on these things, which we're developing as well. And we'll have chat rooms that people can come in and chat with us as well as we continually develop the site. Because we just want to be able to inform people, to get them thinking about the timing of things. And right now, there's a lot of news out there. There's a lot of noise, a total distraction. But if you keep your eyes on what's happening, my thesis is that there has to be a crash. Things have to come apart to some degree, but the things that are going to survive are going to be the commodities, are going to be these things for the green shift. I don't want to have to go buy overvalued stocks that have already had massive run-ups. I want to go look for the companies that are going to have growth, even if things turn around and head south. So I don't want to buy the top of the market stocks. I'm not interested in that. If it's already done it, is our FANG stocks going to double again? I don't think so. They could. I think it's possible, but I'm not interested in that. Why would I? Also, I'm not trying to attract people to put in 50 million at a time, which is what those companies are about. They're about big funds putting in more money at a time. They're not really interested in retail investors. They don't need it. You're not going to move the needle. So if you're a retail investor, you want to find where's the best
bang for your buck.
Bang for your buck. Yeah. And right now we've harnessed the potential of a lot of people that are interested. What we need to do is shift some of the ones from the meme stocks that are interested and curious about the markets to let's find some real value and show them that, yes, there's a lot of cronyism and there's a lot of corruption. There's everywhere today, but there are a lot of excellent stocks with excellent firms and excellent money managers that look at value and they look at growth and they're putting their money to good use. And we want to highlight that. So, we wanted to kind of recap some of the stories that we follow, some of the guests we've had on, some of the things we like, some just interesting stories out there. One I want to mention that's just interesting as well, because we haven't talked about it for a while, is MVMD, which has is cratered since we had people on chatting about it. And it's an interesting story. And this is what we like to follow to is we just like interesting stories. And it was so relevant because it was tied in with COVID. But this is an interesting one because it has dropped significantly, but they have had some good success with ivermectin. Now, we're going to leave that alone right now because if you talk about certain things, then you're going to get flagged. And
we like our YouTube channel.
we love our YouTube channel, and we don't want to be talking or promoting about things that go against any agenda that other people have. So I will just say there's lots of interesting actual reports and data and science out there if one was so inclined to go read. And that's, I'm not saying that this is a great stock or a great company or anything like that. It's just interesting in the perspective of the way things are today with misinformation out there on a whole new level. It'll be interesting to see what further data comes out from this company or just ivermectin in general.
Yeah, it is a very interesting one to keep your eye on because it kind of highlights the fact that you don't really want to be investing or trading against whatever the perceived narrative is of the time as well. And for anyone who wants a little bit more information on the ivermectin thing, I encourage, there's a great podcast chat with Joe Rogan and Dr. Brett Weinstein where they dive into this issue very in depth. They do a great breakdown. Really helps you kind of understand what's going on with it. I encourage people who are interested to check that out. But
wasn't that banned as well? Didn't that get banned? Didn't they remove it because of that?
I think they had Spotify gave some pushback to posting it on there. I think the YouTube clips of it, I'm sure, are not very popular or promoted, perhaps I might say.
Yes.
But really great, really insightful conversation that they had about kind of touching on that and going down that rabbit hole a little bit more than we can because we're not scientists. It's not our area of expertise. But Dr. Brett Weinstein.
No, but for me, what I appreciate about something like Brett Weinstein or even sometimes Joe Rogan is that often they will provide the link to the report. So I don't care what site, I don't care if it's even the most Looney Tunes of site. It doesn't matter to me. If they've got a hyperlink and it takes me to an actual journal, then that's all that matters. The problem is this is one thing that I always kind of harp on and like as far as critical thinking is having an opinion on something that isn't really relevant because then you have to go down the expert. I'm an expert in this, and what does that mean? I said, no. If you've got something to share, you've got some information, hyperlink that report or that data. Show me that data. And if there's nothing there and it's just someone's written something, it's kind of like having a footnote. You need to show me where that data comes from. And I would say 98% of all news out there is op-ed. It's not science, it's not data, it's not real, it's just opinion stuff. They won't hyperlink to anything and if they do, it often includes the terms may, could, might, maybe, possibly. When you're dealing in those, when you're using those words, you're now not talking science, you're talking about something else. So you want to see what the numbers are, what's the data, what's the ratios, what's the statistics, what's this and that. And if you don't know that and you can't speak that language, it's easy to do like a primer course on that type of stuff, or at least engage a friend. You probably know a friend that will understand those things. But in any event, I love, like say, a Brett Weinstein. His show is great because they will provide the links and they'll say, listen, here's my opinion, but here's the link. You can go to the government website or the CDC that has printed this report. Feel free to read it.
Yeah, this is the data to back up my opinion, my thought on this. Yeah, it's always excellent to have sources like that to go to, because it kind of highlights like, look, no, like we're not just pulling this out of thin air. We have real data, real science behind what we're doing, what we're saying, and that's important too. And it's important to tie it all together. It's important when we're looking at these companies as well. When you're looking at a mining company, even ones that have real data, real assets, real projects, that's the ones we get excited about. That's the ones that we look at and we go, hey, we should be looking at these guys a bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. Well said. So that is part, I mean, that's a very, very small part of timing, and it's a broader topic. And of course, we're going to be talking about it a lot more, because, you know, that timing on a big time frame and that type of mindset that you're a long-term investor, like a Warren Buffett, his time frame was, you know, decades, is very different than if you're literally, I won't use day trader, but like if you're a trader at Goldman Sachs or JP Morgan, and you're sitting at a chart all day, or a Forex trader is probably the most extreme example. Yeah. You're trading in maybe 20-second blocks. I mean, it's fast. And that mindset of being able to read and see news and see volumes and see flow is very different than someone who has a time frame of, I look at things cyclically every 3 months, or I look at things every year. So it's just a very intro discussion to get people excited and to maybe engage with us, and maybe people reach out and say, hey, can we talk more about this type of time frame? And that's what we want. We want people to reach out to us and encourage them to come in and chat with us.
Yep, absolutely. You hit the nail on the head there. That's all we're trying to do. That's all we're trying to build. And it's an exciting time to be looking at all of these different companies. Any final thoughts, Andrew? Anything to wrap us up?
Stay inside.
Yeah, turn on the AC, lay in front of a fan.
Yeah.
No, and where you're watching from, it's not as hot as it is here, and it's 10 a.m.
Yeah, it's definitely warm. And at the end of the day, is that get outside a bit, get enjoy the fresh air. It's summer here in Canada, and that's a wonderful time. And hey, stay open and stay interested and curious about things. And at the end of the day, I'm never here to convince people that of anything. The people that are going to be attracted to the things we're saying are people that are driven by curiosity. They are critical thinkers. They're either harnessing in on it, and they want to know, okay, well, where would I go to verify this? How would I know if this is true? And even if the CDC posts it, doesn't mean it's necessarily true as well. Not to bang on the CDC, but you have to remember that science isn't about it being just correct. It just means that a model has proven to be right at this period of time. It doesn't mean that could shift in 6 months. There are things that are quite definitive that we know that for long term, once again, timing, we have tons of data over a long period of time that gives us a good probability of events occurring or this happening. But I always come back to those same themes. It's talking about probabilities of things happening. And I think if people view their life with discernment and with that ability to look at things probably in a statistical framework of things may occurring and may not occurring, it might give them a bit more ease and comfort.
Yep, absolutely.
Beautiful. So enjoy the day, get out, enjoy the sunshine, but make sure you don't get burned. Watch for heat stroke. That's a big deal right now.
It's a big one. Watch out for that. Stay hydrated. But enjoy the weather. Especially if you live in Canada, we get our 3 weeks of summer starts right now. So enjoy it.
Beautiful. All right. Thanks, Austin. Everyone enjoy your day.
Take care, Andrew.
Bye-bye.